Hello and welcome to the Dream is Real podcast. This is the place if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in New York real estate. Before we get started, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Don't want you to miss an episode as we bring you great content. Today I'm with Shant, Tavitian. Close enough?
Yep.
Good? We've
Perfect.
talked about this beforehand. And you are of the Shant Solution
Yes.
and Madison Mortgage.
I am.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about you because I'm intrigued. Often we want to bring in someone who focuses on areas. You've got several areas in the way of finance that you can bring a lot to the table and help individuals. So let's kind of take a step back and let us know a little bit about you, how you got here, and then we'll dive into what you do.
All right. So everybody has a story. Everybody's been through something, right? I'm no different, but I'll tell you probably 5th grade or earlier is where this passion started.
Okay.
With money, but not money. See, for me, money is a tool, and that's something that I've grown to learn. But I won a stock market game, and I remember buying stocks.
In 5th grade class?
5th grade class, like Nike. And I specifically bought one stock that I'll never forget. It's funny, I still own it. Devon Energy, which pays me a good dividend. And I won that game where I was second place because of that stock. That kind of triggered me to be like, oh, that's really cool. Like, companies are moving up in value. I'm interested in that. How does that work?
Right.
So I don't want to say I completely forgot about it, but it was always on the back end of my mind. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. High school, I was a little bit energetic, I would say is the word. And sitting in a class wasn't really something that I wanted to do. And so I had a friend at the time, neighborhood friend, who oddly enough, we just reconnected and we're going to do some business together. But he said, Shant, come with me. I'm 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. He said, come with me. So where are we going? Come with me. Takes me to 950 3rd Avenue in Manhattan at a stock brokerage. I've never been in one of these places. I never even told him I wanted to be a stockbroker, but maybe he saw something in me. I can't tell you. That's the day my life was completely different. I was in the age of boiler room. I worked with the people in boiler room, not the character, not the actors.
No, but there is a culture that they captured in movies like The Boiler Room. That's
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, no, I've got that.
Yeah.
I've got a similar background in that way.
That's where I'm from.
And to be there and to be sitting there and somebody walk over, kick your chair, tell you get up.
Kick your chair?
Get up, you piker. Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to sit down.
Yeah, fair enough.
I had two
well,
phones,
that's the point. Yeah.
rubber band, dialing like this. If I didn't get 200 dials, you're not sitting down today.
Right.
And 200 dials is like before lunch.
A lot of people don't understand that environment, and you may be listening to this right now and say that sounds extreme, that sounds crazy. It is,
but it made me.
It shapes who
what
you
I
are.
am.
Yeah.
So
I totally relate.
Listen, a lot of the stuff, obviously, I don't believe. I've had professional licenses for 25 years. I've never had a bad remark. So I never did any of those things.
Right.
I've always had a moral compass. But I was fast cars, women, fun times, right? Who doesn't like? I'm 18, 19, 20, 21 making.
And you're seeing people of that age
Buying Lamborghinis.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally. I was driving my boss's E55 AMG in my neighborhood.
Yeah. My friend was in Great Neck. So
That's funny.
Yeah. Exit 33. I'll never forget. I
Community drive.
Yep.
Yeah.
So wow. So you get shaped in that environment, which really it toughens you up to do a lot. So in other words, at an early age, no wasn't a problem for you because
It was though. That's what I mean. Until I got there.
Until
I was
you
a
got there,
shy
that-
little
well, that's
kid.
what I'm saying,
I was
yeah.
a shy kid, and they broke me out of that. I've always had this confidence in me, but they somehow harnessed it and said, "Look, this is how you're going to get over it." Because I was a little shy on the phone. They would make me literally go. We were on, I forget what floor, but there was a bus stop right in front, Lexington Avenue. They would make me go downstairs, find, I'm not sexist, but the most pretty girl, have them wave at them, give me their number, and if I didn't do that, I wasn't getting paid for the day. Things like that. So those types of things got me out of the mold. Having two phones on my head, not being able to sit down. Like we look at it as cruelty. I would, I'm a leader now. I would never lead people that way.
Sure.
I would have a similar message, right?
But there's other ways to
other
go
ways
about
to
it.
do that.
But that's your story.
But that's who I am.
It's what launched me into sales
Yep.
as well. And we didn't know this. We didn't talk about this
Yeah.
going in, but it's where I got my start. I was 17 years old. I graduated high school, and that was the first. My cousin was in the business, and that was it. And you learn
This is history.
and you learn to take the no's and take the rejections, and that overflows into a lot of areas of life, because there's going to be ebbs and flows, right? There's going to be times where things are going great, and then there's going to be other times where you get kicked.
I know.
and you got to get up.
Yep.
So how do you get from there to where you are today?
A lot of falling down.
Okay, fair
A
enough.
lot of kicks, a lot of falling down, a lot of trial and error, a lot of learning, a lot of heartache, a lot of sweat. Listen, I'm not any different than anybody else, right? Except I feel like I am in some ways, but you got to come to a realization at some point. I used to listen to people sometimes, like my teachers used to tell me, you're not going to be anything in your life. You know, you're a waste of space. My principal told my parents, school's not for your kid. Meanwhile, I'm getting a 90 on the Series 7, an 88 on the Series 6. Like, who are these people? So at some point, and it's when I passed my Series 7, actually, not the first time. The first time I didn't take it seriously. I was a little young. I got like a 50 on it. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to put my mind to this. And that's the first time I said to myself, listen, cut the nonsense, be you, and see if you can actually do this. I go and I get a 90. And since that day, I can't say life has been rainbows, but that's been something that I can hang my hat on and say, look, you did this when everybody doubted you. And people still doubt me today. And I take that offensively, but also as ammunition, like, oh, okay, let me show you. And I don't do things to brag. I don't do things for pride. I do things to give impact. So my purpose literally is to guide people in ways that nobody guided me. I want to be the leader to someone that I didn't get that leader, you know? And so how did I get here? A lot of falling down.
So we can go into the
know.
areas of finance that you're in. We can talk interest rates, we can talk trends, we can talk and we may get there.
Sure.
I want to stay here for a moment on mindset, because the audience here is really a mixed group of individuals. We've got real estate professionals, we've got buyers, we've got sellers in terms of real estate, we've got investors, and you're talking here about a mindset that can be applicable in almost any area. If you happen to stumble on this and you are starting a business, this all applies.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, you said a lot of falling down. Give us some mindset around what happened when you fell down. You can give an example, or you can give just the overall, what happens when you're facing something that seems insurmountable.
I don't know if I'm going to answer this right. Well, there's no wrong. But the truth is, I don't think anything is insurmountable. And that's the belief I have in myself. And people think I'm delusional until they say, holy cow, how'd you do that? I'm like, what do you mean? How did I not do that? I put my mind to it. So you talk about mindset. I think it's the most important thing in life. Forget business. In life, how you approach life is going to come back to you. What you are. So I've always believed this, and somebody recently said this at my job, and we got closer after I went in the first week there. I'm like, hey, you said this on a podcast. I really liked it. This is something that I always live with. He said, attract, don't chase, right? That's a mindset. That's, I'm not going to go chase opportunities. Granted, everybody wants an opportunity. Sure. I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to be true to myself. And the right people are going to align to me. And that's a mindset, one of my mindset theories that I'm very strong on. But mindset, I really believe it. As delusional as you might think it is, I really don't think anything's insurmountable.
Well, we've seen it over and over again. The story that I think of just in this moment is Roger Bannister in the 4-minute mile, right? Yeah. You heard about that, right? Everyone said that you cannot run a 4-minute mile. If you do, I believe that there were people out there that said the body can't handle it. And Roger Bannister does it, and thousands upon thousands of people do it. So it's that trailblazer mentality. It's like, if you say it can't be done, I'm going to go and do it and prove to you that it can be done, so that you can do it too.
Yeah, but it for me, it's not let me prove it to you. It's let me prove it to me.
Well, fair enough.
Which is the most important
another part of a mindset, right?
It is.
You're not. What you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're not driven by ego or even pressure of what other people think and say. All right, fair enough.
Listen. at some point you start listening and that becomes noise. And I have many motivational posts every day saying, and I had one the other day, other people's reflection of you is not who you are.
Right.
And although that's a very, small sentence, it encompasses so much because like how we want to be perceived, first of all, that's us. We have to reflect. That's what we want. Right. But ultimately it doesn't matter. Like I like you as a person and I do care, but I don't care what you think about me because, I mean that in a very respectful way. But are you paying my bills? No. Right. But I don't mean it in that way, but just in general, if I'm not true to myself, right, I'm only letting myself down. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And so I can't let other people's words, opinions, negativity get into my mind. And I made it a point because it used to. People, I'm telling you, I don't want to, I'm writing a book, but, throughout my whole childhood, all my authoritative figures have said, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, literally, like my whole life. And I didn't take it and say, let me show you I could do it. I said, let me show me I could do it. And so that's what I mean by, again, I don't mean it this way. I don't care what you think about me because ultimately it's up to me to determine who I am.
Well, if you cared what I thought, then you would have to care what Kim thought. Then you would have to care what the guy at the gas station thinks. There's a lot of people out there. That means that you need to adopt the identity of every single person you come across. That's unsustainable.
It's not sustainable.
Well, it's impractical, and it's never going to get you where you want to be. So
you just said a very good word, impractical. So I'm very logical, right? I'm very, definitive. I'm very intentional. Right. I don't do things to say like I wouldn't give someone a compliment. I mean, if I didn't really mean it is kind of what I'm saying, but also it feels good. Right. It's like I'll just be genuine. I feel like that's the most important thing. And
people can trust you if they know what you're saying is like, I'm not just going to blow sunshine at you. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm going to be thoughtful in what I say.
Exactly. Yeah. But I tell this to my clients almost on every first call. If you want me to be the guy that tells you yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, and things that you want to hear, I'm not your guy.
Yeah. Right.
If you want to be successful, and because it's funny, I wrote this, I wrote this on one of your guys' posts yesterday, and I love it. This is my message. Emotions have no business in finance. Zero. Once you put emotion into a financial decision, it no longer is a financial decision.
Right.
It's an emotional decision. You can't make right decisions based on emotions.
Sure.
We as people aren't wired that way. We are naturally worried. So let me use this in day trading, right? Like if you buy a stock and it goes down 7%, but you don't already know what your baseline maximum loss that you want to have or what your profitability may be, because I look at risk and reward, right? Everything is calculated. That's how I live my life. I follow trends and I see if it breaks out, and then I won't follow that trend, but I'll get in the stock, in other words, when I see the momentum, and that's when I'll get in, and I do pretty well in that regard. And I just want people to know that is not something only I could do because I was a stockbroker.
Right.
You could do this.
Sure.
You could do this. Kim could do this. Everybody could do this with a little discipline.
When you go in, you go in with the game plan and thresholds and
absolutely
got it.
Everything I do is game planned.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of reflecting recently because it's funny. I asked ChatGPT. It knows me because I've taken 9 personality tests and I keep taking more. I just want to know what my strengths are. Where do I need to improve? And that's why somebody asked me the other day, when do you think you'll be the best at something? And my honest answer is never.
Never.
And they're like, how could you say that? I'm like, because I'm always going to learn something, right? I'm always going to want to be better. So I'll never be in a state of I'm the best. Right.
Right. And that's where, especially a lot of folks that don't have experience, they feel like there's a point of arrival, but there's
it's
not.
Now.
And that shouldn't bring despair that there's no arrival when you believe that you have level to level to level to level. We only have a certain amount of trips around this, big ball of mud, right? Yeah. Or on this big ball of mud around the sun. But there's always room to get better.
Always.
And that should be exciting, I think.
It is. I get goosebumps saying it because I'm being authentic. I'm not here to have an ego. Listen, I know a lot of things. I know I don't know everything. In fact, the day you think you know everything, trust me, quit.
Yep.
Because you just lost the game. There's always something to learn, whether it's in your field, another field, something that sparks your mind.
So let's pivot to the areas. We're not going to be able to cover all the
I know.
areas that you do, but and I'm going to let you guide a little bit as to where to start. I know that you are alongside Madison Mortgage, right? So on the mortgage side, which is obviously a big part of the real estate transaction for most, you know, unless you got cash in hand, which is not a bad thing, right?
Well,
which there are some areas that you could probably help. You know, on the financial planning side,
Yes.
to get somebody a little bit more prepared to be
Yeah.
with that cash in hand. So I'm going to ask a super broad question, and just talk about the state of the world that we're in right now. Somebody who is looking to make financial moves, to be able to be financially independent, to maybe have more options. And one of those options could be to leverage real estate for greater wealth growth. What would you say to them right now? What stands out to you as a place to start?
Believe it or not, it's in your question. Start. Too many times people are waiting for something. What are you waiting for?
Right.
Right? Your dollar today is worth less tomorrow. So if you invest that dollar today and you make X percent on it, you're already up. Inflation is eating your money every day. So I'm going to wait for the interest rates to come down. Well, if they come down and your money is worth less, what does that do for you?
Right. Yeah, we've seen a lot of people in real estate waiting for the interest rates to come down as the prices went up.
Yeah.
So so seize the day. No time like the present.
It's really true. And I'm not telling you go buy a house today, but if that's part of your mission, part of your dream, part of your goal, go get it, right? Or even invest. Start today. Put money in a CD. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I have money in CDs, but if you want to be more safe, CDs, money markets, things like that, you can. I like to put money in the S&P. I'm earning like 8%. If you compounding is a huge thing. People don't understand. I've actually done figures in my own shows where I've showed if you take $10,000 today, put it into an account, like I'm saying, like a money market that's earning you 5-6%, something like that. On a compounding level, in 20 years, you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you haven't put anything else in there.
right.
Because people have to realize your money over time, if you just leave it in the bank, you're literally losing money. People think, oh, my money's safe in the bank. It's actually the opposite. Your money is losing value in a bank.
Right, because of
Inflation, the cost of goods that are going up. So while your mindset is, oh, I'm going to wait for this, you're actually hurting yourself.
Right.
So do that thing now. Put money in something now, right? Like not irrationally. Let's strategize that. That's the Shant solution, right? I'm not going to put you in a bad spot, or anybody that you deal with. Hopefully they're thorough, but they'll give you the full scope, right? Because I've been a financial planner. I've done wealth management, risk management. I do all of this. And so it's all engulfed in this thing of who you want to be, and you take the action and do it. You cannot just sit in the sidelines and expect things to happen.
So give us a sense of somebody comes to you and says, all right, I've got, I want to start investing my money. I want to start with a financial plan. Walk us through how you begin to guide that individual toward their goals, discovering their goals. Because some people are out there listening and saying, yeah, I want that. I want to be a millionaire, but why?
Thank you.
What is the goal? So, again, I don't want to speak to your exact strategy. I'll let you speak to that. Somebody comes to you, where do you go with them?
Well, look, it's actually the same strategy every time.
Okay.
Because the outcome is not always the same. The solution I put together is not always the same. The path is the same because I need to know about you. So it's not about me. Why do I want money? It doesn't matter. Why do you want money? What is this money for? Are you going to be planning to take your kids through school, through college? What is all this money for? What are your goals? Once I know what your goals are, we can strategize how to get there. When do we want to get there? Are you more conservative? Are you more, aggressive? Based on you. So everybody's, solution will be quite different. So, but the way to get there is going to be the same. Find out. Number one thing, know your client. You have to know. What are they breathing, eating, sleeping? What are they doing all this for? Because we have a purpose in life, right? If we can't create that relationship as a client and a whatever I act as, right? A financial professional. If you can't trust me, what good am I anyway?
You ever have somebody come to you though, and not know exactly what they want?
Yes, all the time. That's one of the biggest problems.
How do
People don't know.
you help them unpack
I
that?
ask them questions. Listen, do you have children? Do you want to send them to school? Is this something that's been important to you? Tell me about your history. What made you get into what you're doing now? Is this something that you want to do long term? Are you going to stay in this house forever? There's so many questions that I would want to know and need to know for me to guide you in the right way. Because again, it's not my plan. What works for me, it might work for you. You may not be able to handle it the same way, right? Emotions and things like that. Again, I'm not saying I'm superior or whatever. That's not the point. But everybody's different. And so the biggest thing I have to say is getting to know my client, because everybody's goals are different. So how do you find out their goals? That's part of my process. It's not, and I don't like to be questioning. I'm not interrogating you. It's a conversation. So we just talk.
Well, if somebody's going to trust you to be an advisor, how can you advise somebody who you know nothing of?
I get to know them.
Right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
And that's what it is. See, in my opinion, you're my client when you walk in the door. I have every duty to you. Now, whether we work together, that's completely different story. Like I've told people, like I said, if you're looking for this is not me. You go call somebody else, and I'm okay with that. But once you are my client, we're going to go through what I call a fact-finding process. And that's the first part of our relationship building is I'm a relationship person. I want you to know all about me. I want to know all about you, your family, what's important, so that we can address and guide you to where you want to be or where you think you'd like to be, rather,
Where do you see real estate in the grand scheme of things in terms of building legacy wealth?
It's one of the primary ways I think people can realistically live the dream, because there are programs that I'm doing for people, forget me working with me, but there's programs out there that, it's not as hard as people think, right? Oh my gosh, I can't come up with $100,000 for a down payment, right? But there's ways around these types of things. There's a lot of different programs. In terms of investing your money, obviously you want to have a nice, right? Like a portfolio. I wouldn't say do one thing, because that wouldn't be smart. But investment, you have to understand, owning investment properties are doing few things. One, you have an asset. It's generating cash flow. So number one is paying for the other. Now this house is going to act as a bank for you. Now you leverage this house, take equity, buy another house. Now you have two houses, one mortgage possibly. Then that's going to domino effect.
Right.
So like one house turns into four houses turn into 10. And like you'll have maybe half of the mortgage, right? Like 4 mortgages, 10 houses, something like that. So when it comes to investment properties, I look at it as my bank. I literally look at it as Shant's bank. This is where I leverage my equity from. And the smartest way to borrow money on this planet is from yourself. Not from yes, you're going to a bank, but you're using your equity. Sure. That is the most affordable way. You're going to get the best rates, the best programs. Why go somewhere and spend, I'm making this up, but 10%, 11%, because most people are like, oh, I don't want to do anything with my mortgage, because they don't understand it. I don't look at an interest rate. What I look at is a monthly payment, right? How much is the monthly payment? What is that monthly payment affording us? And is it giving us the flexibility to do more? If that is a yes, I don't care. The interest rate could be 20%. I don't care. Because if for instance, let's pretend I bought a house, $100,000, 20% interest rate, right? I'm making this up. This wouldn't happen.
Sure.
But it's generating $6,000 a month for me. Do I really care what 20% interest
If
is?
and they're positive.
I don't care.
Right.
So again, I tell my clients, don't get caught up in interest rates. Don't get caught up in prices of things, right? Yes, those matter. Think about, what is it doing for me? If you look at things in that regard, logic, that's to me logic, and just strategizing. Yes, there's going to be things that you may not account for, or things that, plan Bs or whatever like that. But I think having that strategy in the first place, and then working, hey, what happens if? Because I like to put it all together. Obviously, I'm not a machine, although sometimes my brain works like it. But I do try to look at it at every angle, so that there is the least course of resistance. Now, obviously, something can happen at any time, but you want to be focused, disciplined, and have the right mindset to know, hey, look, I'm going to get over it. Because again, going back to your question, having an investment property as an investment, as an asset, is one of the best and fastest ways you can ever grow your income and grow wealth as a legacy. This is my mission, is legacy for my family, for my kids, for everybody.
That's awesome.
It is.
How can someone get in touch with you, to
Oh.
connect with you, to learn what you know, and possibly work with you?
Well, learn what I know. There's a lot, so it'll take some time. But they could give me a call, 516-865-6287. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, The Shant Solution. Facebook is Shant Amadeus, which I'm transitioning, because I also have a piano album I came out with. So
Oh, really?
I'm multifaceted. I'm writing a book. I have a piano album. So I have a lot of interests.
All right,
But,
so we'll have to have you back so
Yeah.
we could talk some more. But
I'd
really
love it.
good stuff today. I'm glad that
you.
you joined us, and thank you for joining us as well. This is the Dream is Real podcast. If you want to follow us on TikTok and Instagram, it's at Dream Select Realty. On X, it's at Dream Select Homes. And if you want to be part of this program, email us at hometeam@dreamselectrealty.com. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time. And remember, the dream is real.